beautiful thing about being connected to what I've often described as that lack of self inside is that if that's what's inside us, and we can touch that, and we can come to our world from that sense of peace, then surely there's no way for that to manifest without it being loving and gentle. One of the misperceptions that often arises, sometimes I get asked about it, is, well, if everything is so peaceful and perfect and there's no sense of lack, want, or need, and there's no fear, what is there to do? Why would you do anything? And yet, in this world, in this perceptual world, in these three dimensions, where there is also a constantly changing tableau of images and perceptions and experiences and emotions and all kinds of things that arise and come our way. And so, when someone poses a question like that or a concern, it's usually posed as actually some form of worry. The answer to it is that even that fear, that small fear that's wrapped up in that idea that that I won't do anything, that there's nothing to be done, even though there's a great freedom in that on some level, but the bottom line is that this perceptual world and these three dimensions are essentially, by the way it's all set up, it's just guaranteed to bring something in front of your face eventually that's going to ask for your response. And the only question that remains then is, from what place is that response made? Is it made from that separated space, that separated place, or is it made from that place in which there's no sense of lack, want, or need, or fear? That place that is inevitably, as its natural default setting, a place that is kind, gentle, and essentially loving. So, is the response going to be made from that place? Or will it be made from a different place? We could call it the egoic framework, we could call it the separated framework, we could just call it the old way. That ends up being really and truly the single only choice that we make on a constant basis. From which place do I come to the changing perceptual tableau that is before me all the time? It's why notions of things like forgiveness and kindness are so persistent. In the words of all the great spiritual avatars, because they know that when we're practicing those things, it's sort of like practicing coming from that non-dual framework, that place from which that lovingness flows overwhelmingly natural as its default setting. There's a lot to unpack in that when it comes to the complexities of egos and the seeming complexity of the world we're in. But in the end, it is not actually complicated. It's a profoundly binary choice, and that's all. It's the choice of, from which place shall I come? Which place will I take as the seat of my truth? The more one practices in living from that peace, the more likely that will come the kinds of experiences that show you that non-dual truth is true with a capital T. There's already plenty of evidence that coming from the other framework is pretty much nothing but painfulness and suffering and things like that. People are so often looking for what they should do, the kinds of practices they should have, maybe routines that they should be involved in, and so on and so forth, to somehow advance on their spiritual path or on any other kind of path, frankly. But if we want to simplify it down to its absolutely simplest essence, there is never, ever any more than a choice between two things. It's coming from that egoic old framework, or coming from that framework in which love is the only and natural default setting. It always comes down to that choice. And as human beings in general, it's really marvelously important to remember that here in this dimension, nobody does it perfectly. So that in the end, that kindness and that lovingness and that forgiveness must also apply to ourselves. Sometimes that's the hardest part, especially when you've been on the journey for a while. Here's walking in spirit, my friends. As you walk your own path, may you be kind and forgiving, especially to yourself. Peace be with you. And hey, if this is the kind of thing that you've found helpful on your own journey, I do hope you'll like, subscribe, share, tell me your thoughts in the comments. To do those things really does contribute to the rising tide that lifts all boats. Peace.